Welcome to Recovery Unfiltered. I'm Larry. I'm an alcoholic.
I am Rob. I am also an alcoholic. We are not professionals. There are no letters after our names. We know very little. However, you will hear the word God and a four-letter word in the same sentence. You will also be offended. So if you are easily offended, just pass us by. This podcast is not for you.
Our opinions are just that. If you don't agree with what we're saying, that's okay. We're going to love you anyways. We are not in any way affiliated with AA.
So sit back, grab a beverage of your choice, and get ready.
Let's go. Hello, Rob.
Good afternoon, Larry.
It's not afternoon, it's evening. As far as everybody knows, we're still working.
Oh, okay. Good evening.
How you been?
I've been excellent. How you been?
I'm doing good, man. You know what? I'm getting a lot of people say, "Why aren't you and Rob just going to get back together and talk? When did you and Rob get back together?"
I've heard that too.
Yeah.
People want to keep you right-sized.
Right. You know, the thing about it, I hear this, you and Rob had a good rapport together. Get back to you two. But, you know, it's hard when we have the between the two of us and the people that we come across, the stories that we hear, it's hard not to bring them in, right? Because it brings content. It brings the reality. It brings that unfiltered part of what you and I do. Laid open, because you and I laid open in the first two episodes and we ain't even begun. I mean,
well, and we really just scratched our surface of our stories.
No.
However, but you and I walk with each other every day.
Oh.
I'm with myself all day. So are you. So when we bring other people in,
right.
We like that.
Yes. And you said it just now that we just barely scratched the surface, because when I really start thinking about your story, and I actually went back and listened, and it's not because I like listening to myself talk, because everybody knows that already, but as I was preparing for this episode, or for us to record today, I went back and I started listening to I listened to some of our old stuff to try and prepare some stuff. And honestly, I didn't really tell a lot of my story. You know, I didn't dig into mine, and you didn't either.
No, I mean, because when you go to share,
yeah.
You know, and I've shared big events, smaller events,
right.
They ask you either from 15 minutes, that's just the 30,000 foot view,
yeah,
to 45 to an hour and a half.
Right.
When I went and shared at a softball, you know, you never go, but there used to be there is a big softball tournament. We have all the fellowships from Oakdale. They have
Where's that at?
At Byer Park.
Oh,
and I spoke there. Jeanette had me speak there once. So there's a lot of people. So, but you do an hour and 15.
Mm.
So you can start at 5 years old or whatever, and kind of dig into a little bit more, in depth. But
I'm speaking tomorrow night, and honestly, I'm a little bit nervous about it. Honestly, I've spoke, several times, and I think I'm a little bit nervous only because it's going into a new arena. I haven't been into this one. I don't even know where it's at. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of new people there, but I look at it as opportunity to I love getting critiqued when I speak, right? Well, this or that and this and that, because
you're going to do the most critiquing, because there's always the one no matter anyway, the 15 minute or the 1 hour and a half, it doesn't matter. There's the one you plan for,
right?
Because no matter what, I like to go from the hip, like, you know, because you have your notes over there. I do better off the cuff.
I have to prepare. Doug,
even if you do, because I've done that. I've had my big book with notes. There's still the one that I rehearsed for, the one that actually happens, and because you let God move a little bit. And then when you get done, man, I should have said this, or I shouldn't have said that. That's always going to be, I believe.
And there's times where I'll throw the script away, because, you know, when we had Matt and Mary on last week, there was a couple times where I had to and I know this is very hard for people to say, but to hear, but I had to shut up. All right.
Yeah.
I had to shut up and just listen. And I wanted to ask a question, but I couldn't, because Mary was such a dynamic speaker, and I want to have her back on a couple times, because, you know, the two of us is great, but to have Mary here with us was, you know, when the three of us got to talking about stuff, to have that perspective was nice to have.
And we're going to have another next week, another couple.
I want to introduce a guy that's going to be on our show next week. Hey, guest, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit? Just tell us a little bit quick about you.
My name's Brad Luke, recovering alcoholic, 2.5 years sober almost. Life is great.
What did it take you to get in the room, Brad?
Losing my family.
Really? Not 2 shots and a beer?
Oh, what got me into the room? Yeah, I had to have 2 shots of beer to walk into the room.
That's funny.
And I finished a beer in the driveway of a house before I had the courage to go in.
You never turned your back, did you?
I walked out sobbing, crying, different man.
Attaboy.
I never had a drink since. Awesome.
The weird part is I love talking about sobriety now, and I like helping people out the best I can. I can only show them how happy I am.
Brad, you're going to have ample opportunity. I'm so fucking excited to get you in here next week. You and your wife, right? She's coming in with you?
Yes, sir. We get to hear from a woman that's dealt with an alcoholic. She currently still drinks, but not nearly as much as when I was tipping the bottle back with her. So
that's what we call a normie.
Yeah.
All right. Brad, I'm so excited for you and your wife to get in here. I'm looking forward to it, man. We've been talking about this for a while. Brad's one of those friends that when you're feeling really good about yourself and you think you're on top of the world, call Brad because he will fuck that day up in a heartbeat for you.
He'll spit some truth at you, and there you go.
He'll remind you just exactly what kind of man you are. I fucking love you,
just
Brad.
call it as I see it.
Attaboy. I fucking love you, man. I can't wait to have you in here.
I love you too,
guys. Later.
Later, Brad.
Later.
All right.
Different dynamic. One alcoholic, one not. But
it's a married couple too.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm very excited for that. Very excited for that one. So we're learning this,
and we're getting better.
We are,
and we're growing as people. You are too. I mean, for you to shut your mouth and listen to somebody,
that's Monday night. Monday night, I was having, even Monday, Rob, we were talking, I actually had to go into the office and I was bullshitting with you. And I'm like, dude, I just feel like I'm getting beat up today. I feel like I'm getting beat up. And then Monday night, I get up to the men's meeting and I see all these men in that, all these men with 15, 20 and 30 years. And it comes around to me and I'm like, I think I'm just going to sit and listen tonight. And you about fell out of your damn chair when I said it. So did everybody else hit behind me. They're like,
but that's growth. To be quite, I mean, we joke about it, but by God, that's a step for you.
You know what? And for me to sit and listen, be still. I was talking to a lady last night. She said, you know what, Larry, sometimes it's nice to sit and be still and listen. God tells us to do that, right?
Be still and know that I am.
Right. So it's just so fucking hard for me. Good God, it's so hard for me.
God doesn't hear our words. He hears our hearts. Everybody tries to get, when they pray, they try to get the right words in the right order and sound good. That's not what he hears. No. Is it sincere?
Is it from the heart?
That's what he hears.
Is it from the heart? Right. So yeah, today you and I are going to just kind of break down a few things. I got a couple things. It's been on my mind. I had to actually send out a text last night to my daughters. I said, hey, just FYI, we're doing a little, our episode tomorrow is just going to be talking about the first 4 or 5 episodes. You guys got anything you want to talk about? Well, shit, my daughters threw all kinds of shit at me. And I'm like, oh, no, wait a minute. We're not digging into me more because they wanted more about, because they have never really heard Dad tell.
And we will.
I mean, it's going to happen.
If this continues, they'll know all about us.
There's going to be stuff come out today in this episode. I mean, some of the stuff that I'm going to bring up.
All your surgeries, my cancer.
Oh, my God.
My new hip replacement, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's, Rob, I'm going to dig right into it. I want you to dig into that. I want to know your exact thought process, where you stood. You actually hit the nail on the head, Rob, and actually segued right into that. I don't even think you knew I was going. I wanted to know where you were at mentally when you were told that you had cancer in your throat. What did that do for you?
I was driving down the freeway, going to pick up parts because I was foreman at the time, not the position I'm in now. The year prior, I had it show up, my lymph node swollen, right side.
Did they diagnose what it was then?
I went and got blood work done. I did. Nope, nothing. You're good.
Nothing.
Just maybe so I got a tooth pulled, thinking it was an abscess tooth.
Oh well.
It kind of went away. They gave me a bunch of antibiotics. It kind of went away, which cancer doesn't do. So they said, but it's not cancer. It's from the blood work. Okay. 2020, same month, April, showed back up.
1 year later.
1 year later. So me and my wife were thinking, allergies.
Yeah.
Anyway. Went and did the whole rigmarole and went and saw an ear, nose, and throat guy. Little prick. Oh, if I ever meet that guy, God bless. If I ever see that, he's retired. I'll probably choke the life out of that guy. But anyway, went back to my general practitioner. Sent me to the same guy. Did all the tests. Nope, you're good. But my wife, bless her soul, said, "Hey, listen, honey, go get a biopsy. I don't want to be dealing with this every year. Let's find out what it is." I said, okay. Didn't think nothing of it because they just told me for 2nd year in a row, no, it's not cancerous. You're good. So
real fast, don't miss that. How many years sober when this was all happening?
So that was
2020.
2020,
Yeah.
which is what, 4 years ago. So 9 years.
Okay. All right. Go on.
So I go get the biopsy, and I don't think about it for whatever. COVID starts happening, right? At that time.
Wonderful COVID.
Well, yeah. So, so I'm driving down the freeway, headed to a parts store to pick up parts for the guys at the plant where everything's doing. My doctor calls me, and I could tell because he's been my doctor for quite a while. I love him to death. Just by his voice, this was not, I didn't know what he was calling about. Didn't even think about the biopsy.
Your general practitioner.
General practitioner.
Yeah.
He says, Rob, in your neck is squamous cell carcinoma. You need to come in.
And you were driving.
He says, it's cancer. It's squamous cell carcinoma.
What a prick.
Well, but he knows me. I'm good.
I understand, but good Lord, can you pull over? Can you get on an off ramp?
That's what I told him. I go, Doc. I'm not going to say his name. I said, I'm on the freeway right now. I got to get these parts back to my guys. There's nothing I can do.
First thing you thought of was finishing your job when you just got told you got cancer.
There's nothing I can do about it in my neck. I'll tell you what I did after that. I said, let me get these parts back to the guys. I'll be in later this afternoon. I mean, you got it. I'm going to cure it right now. So then I hung up. I called Aaron. I called Aaron first. I called Terry Henry second.
You called Aaron and other people before you called your wife?
I'm not calling her on the phone. I called Aaron. I said, hey, brother, the biopsy just came back. He knew I got it, but we weren't thinking,
all right,
it's cancer. Start praying.
Wow.
Called Terry Henry, a great Christian brother. Told him. I called another man, J.S. West, a good friend. Called 3 men. This is what it is. Please start praying. And I called Pastor Steve.
Okay.
Went and ran my errands. Came back. Told the guys at the work. Levi started crying. Chris started crying. These are my crew.
Right. These are your men.
I was good. God's got to, God, and because I prayed, obviously, hey, Lord, it is what it is. You got this. Give me some peace about it. And I was good, but I was not going to call my wife on the phone and tell her that.
That makes sense. Right. But she knows that it's coming in sometime that day.
But we're not thinking anything. No, we're not thinking anything.
You don't think it's that deep.
No, and it didn't come in that day. I went and got it maybe a week or 2 later.
Oh.
Yeah. So I told all the guys, drove home. Sat her down, pointed to that knot on my neck, this is cancer. I just got a call from the doctor. Let's go. So we went and saw the doctor. After that, everything moved. Even COVID was going on, it moved fast. I got excellent care. I will never bitch about the care I got from there on. Amazing.
So, oh my God. So never at any time did you say, fuck?
Yes.
Okay.
You're
human.
But just moments.
Right.
Something happened. I can't even remember actually.
Right.
Because I was asking God for signs, but I didn't know that the hell I was going to go through. Mm-hmm. Which, and I say this before. I shouldn't say this on the radio, but I've said this before, and I shouldn't, because I'm not
unfiltered.
I'm not a name it and claim it guy. Mm. However, there are certain things that I just don't speak that kind of shit into the universe. Let it, any kind of negative.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. But no, there's always moments where the devil's going to, and again, yes, I do believe we have an enemy. I can do bad all by myself. I don't need him. However, there's those moments, but for the most part, no.
Did you ever, you never said why?
No.
Never.
Why? No.
Okay.
Why me?
Yeah.
Why not me? Who the fuck am I?
But these are the questions that come up.
Some people do, but you got to remember 9 years sober.
Right.
That why question and having gone through life and having life experiences, why not me? I'm not the first, just like, and I had said, remember with the quote that Matt had said about, he's not the first father to have a son.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not the first man to have this.
And I won't
be the last. Right. I'm just the man right now. And God gave me the strength. And who can I glorify in this? And as that traversed, I was able to be a blessing.
Yeah. And I think for somebody like me, God, thank God I haven't had to go through that. Right. I pray that if something like that happens, I can take it the way you did, right?
I had a lot of help and I had a lot of prayer.
Yeah, because my control freak in my head automatically just wants to take over, right?
But one more thing. When I got, after that, I went to Memorial. That's where I started treatment. And of this, because you're gonna agree with this. Lady came up to me. She was she was not a nurse. She was a nurse, like a helper. She was just a volunteer. Uh-huh. And I was in there for my first meeting, before even to discuss. It ended up being stage 4, what treatment I was going to get. She came up, young man, it's going to be okay. The scariest words you can hear is, you have cancer. I said, no, man, the scariest words I can hear is my child has cancer.
Oh, okay. That is a good answer.
That's the answer. I would rather go through this, trust me, than to watch someone go
Let
through what
me
I did.
bear the pain. Let me carry the
I
pain.
mean, to look at the looks on my wife's face, going through this, I'd rather go through it than watch someone go through it.
Right.
And it was fucked.
Yeah. And how long did you fight it?
The treatment was 7 months.
Well,
Started in June, the 1st of June. November, I had surgery. In between, there was cancer or radiation chemo.
Right.
December 1st, I was back to work at 145 pounds. And
Incredible.
Shouldn't have, but I did, hard-headed.
Oh, we're stupid.
Portuguese.
We don't, for me, I'd have to go back to work just to get my brain right. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's just.
But in between that was a lot of life lessons.
Incredible. A lot of it's funny is I tell people this, the cancer is not at all what I dealt with, but I fell down. I had gotten a really bad accident when in 1988. I got in a very severe accident in high school. It was actually the day I got my very first date with my wife. What?
Okay, hold on.
What?
Because I was a freshman, you were a senior.
Right.
My sister was a senior.
Right.
So I remember that, but you have to tell the story of the old couple.
I am.
Okay.
I can. But didn't I tell that in my very intro?
I don't think so.
You know what? I don't think I did.
Say it again.
Anyways, I got in an extremely bad car accident. We were coming home from a party so Katie and I.
Were you sober?
Fuck no. So I had taken Katie out to my wife. I'd taken her, another friend, and my buddy. We had went out to dinner because we had gone, other story, not to go deep, but we had taken them out because I didn't really know her, even though she lived like 4 houses or 5 houses down from me growing up as kids. We literally grew up right next to each other. And I didn't really know her. I knew of her, but I didn't know her. And my buddy was taking her friend to the prom, and he told me, you need to ask Katie to go to the prom. So I was like, okay. So it's our senior year, and I asked her to go to the prom. And so we decided to go out on a date with them real fast, just to get to kind of know them. Well, the one girl had to be home at 10 o'clock, so we dropped them off, and me and my buddy went running to another party over in Houston. We picked up another friend, and shit, one thing led to another. Next thing you know, they're piling me in the back of a car. That's basically the last thing I remember. The next thing I remember, I woke up out on the hood of this Mustang, and I couldn't figure out. I was sitting on the passenger seat. My knees were on the passenger seat, and I'm like, where's I had another friend there, and I looked over at the driver, and I said, hey, what happened to Vic? And he says, we dropped him off. And I'm like, dude, what the hell? And he goes, I fell asleep. And I'm like, oh, so anyway, he couldn't get out. I crawled to the back. I mean, I fell off the back of it and landed on a stump, ended up cracking my sternum. Didn't really know what was going on. I finally yelled up front, said, hey, I can't go. I just fell off and I couldn't move. I mean, my sternum.
You broke more than that, though.
Yeah, I mean, then when I started looking down, I had a bone sticking out of my left leg, and I had blood just oozing out of it. So the other guy, the driver of the car, he got in. He pulled off this guy. Talk about a hero. He pulled off a big branch off the trees we went into, and he had to walk probably a mile and a half, probably about a mile. Then he lived up a steep grade road, and this grade was probably a good 8 or 9% grade, and it's probably about a quarter mile up that hill. And he went up it with a crushed ankle, just literally crushed. And he got up. Anyways, I laid there, and I don't know what time we got in the wreck, but the vivid thing and what you were talking about, the old couple, is that I was laying there, and I was freezing cold. I just remember this, and I was going in and out of consciousness, and it was freezing cold. And this old couple in this convertible. It's like a 56 Cadillac. It was big. It was a big one, but it was a convertible. And they pull up, and I remember the old man. I remember him vividly. I mean, as I'm sitting right here looking at a picture, I can remember him. She had a little Afghan around her, and he had one of those little, I don't know what you call those little bitty hats, but a little bitty hat. And she come walking over, and I said, I'm freezing. And she goes, here, I got you a blanket. She took her Afghan She took her Afghan off her shoulders and laid it on me, and she goes, "Don't worry, help's coming, help's coming." And next thing I remember is the helicopter blades coming down, and and I remember them pushing me into the helicopter, and I said, "Hey, here, take the blanket back to the old lady. Make sure the old lady gets the blanket." And he goes, "Bud, you ain't got no blanket on you, and you're getting ready to die. We got to go." And next thing I know, I woke up a few days later in the hospital, and I had no idea. So there was that vision that I had was literally that a vision of a lady of a there. There was no Afghan on me. There was no old people that came by.
Yeah, there was.
I was bleed. Yes, absolutely. I was bleeding out profusely, and those helicopter pilots or the helicopter medics basically said, there is nobody here. You're hallucinating, and put me in, and off we go. And then, so yeah, I had a rod put in my leg, and I don't know where I went down that rabbit hole, but I had a rod put in my leg. I was in a sternum. I had my cracked sternum, so they couldn't even put me into they couldn't do surgery on my leg. So they had me in these contraptions back in 1988, right? They still had just ugly contraptions. So they put me in that. 4 days after being in the hospital, my swelling in my chest finally went down, and they did surgery and put it a rod. Um, blah, 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 blah. I ended up about 4.5 weeks, got out of the hospital, 5 days out of the hospital, 4 or 5 days out of the hospital. I'm at home. I haven't been back to school yet. All these buddies come to my house to see me because I just got out of the hospital.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. The lady, your future wife, went on one date with.
One date.
Was at the hospital.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go into the love story, but
that's a great part.
I know, but you're going to make me cry.
I can't make you. You're going to cry anyway.
So that I didn't want to go into this whole thing today, but you're dragging me into it. But
brought up cancer, buddy.
No,
I brought it up, but you made me dig into that.
She
every day, I believe.
She did. She, from the day, even when I was coming in and out of consciousness, I was told later that she came in there, and she came in there every day. And as I walked her out one day, and when I came back to the room, my buddy that was in the hospital, that I was in the wreck with, he had walked into the room like I was gone, and he walked down, and he sat down, and he goes, "Oh yeah, you're done." And I go, "I do. I think so. Yeah. I think so."
Prophecy, baby.
Yeah, and he knew, right? So yeah, that's my girl of shit. We celebrated 30. Oh, we got married in 1991, so 33 years this year. Yeah, got married May 18th, 1991. So anyway, so up there, several years later, 2015, and the drinking just continued after high school. I never stopped. I went into cycles up and down, right, back and forth, and some days I would drink, some days I wouldn't. And anyways,
where we kind of went with this, because we want to talk about
the pain that I had, that I lived with for a very long time. In 2015, I was up trout fishing. I was up trout fishing with my nephews, and I fell down. It's funny. I was getting up over the top of these one rocks, and I yelled down to my nephew. I said, "Hey, I'm going to get up over the top. There's another pool down there." And he screams back at me, "Well, don't fall down and break a hip, Uncle." And I was like,
Were you drunk?
Okay. Oh yeah, we'd been drinking all morning. We'd had mimosas. And,
that's rhetorical, but
no, it was. I mean, it was me and my two nephews, right? We'd been drinking, and so I walked up and I fell, and I had canvas pants on. I fell right on a stump, right on the left hip.
Stumps kick your ass,
dude. It literally ripped my pants, and it hurt bad. And I went back to the thing, and I just proceeded to drink. And I drove home, got home, and it was in pain for a long time. And I don't know when that pain stopped, but in 2020, April 12th of 2022, when I stopped drinking, that the pain in my back and the pain in my hip from all those years of just fighting that. No, I didn't.
How much
I was masking it so much. And I remember my second day of rehab, I couldn't hardly move. I was limping so bad, and they wouldn't even let me do activity. I had to sit in and I couldn't move. And so yeah, 2022, May 10th, I got out. September of 2022, I had my hip replaced. There was so much damage in my hip that I had my effusion done in my back. August of 23, now I'm going back in to have my SI joints fused. So the moral of the story, and getting back to what we were talking about, I have yet to live a sober day without pain, and it's just, but that's second nature to me now. It's, it's pain is just what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
The answer to that is eventually going to go away, right?
Maybe.
It will. I mean, the
Hopefully,
doctor's going to, eventually it will. I don't have the mental pain that I fought for so many years. I can deal with this physical pain all day long.
But it is. I mean, pain is. It's a
bitch. It'll literally drag you.
And people, there's going to be more people listening to this probably,
right?
Whether they're addicts, alcoholics, addiction, that have dealt with pain, chronic pain, acute pain. Because I was going to get my hip done, then Logan started wrestling. Going to get my hip replaced because it was going shot. I think my sister's 40th birthday and our little skydiving mishap to that. That's another guy. If I ever come across him, you got to choke the life out of that prick too. But that's probably what started. But then I'm going to wait till he graduates high school. There's no need. We're on the wrestling mat, so there's no need to get the hip done until then cancer hit, which just destroyed the rest of it.
Right.
Chemotherapy did. But it also gave me a gift. We talked about that. And I talked about that last night in the meeting, how God can use these things if we give it, like your big problem, surrender.
Right.
I mean, I shouldn't say yours. A lot of people have that. Well, I'll give you this, Lord, but I'm not gonna. I can handle this myself.
Right.
But giving that to him,
struggling.
There's levels to pain.
Yep.
And I realized, hip, nerve pain. That's great. But you go through cancer treatment, chemo, radiation, everything that takes you to, okay, I get this now.
Yeah.
That's incredible. But in getting done with that, getting back on the wrestling mat, I was able to do things I couldn't do before because of the pain. I could push through that. That ain't pain. I know what pain is now. I could really build my body up. So when hips, I just had hip surgery. I'm back squatting 3 weeks later.
Yeah, I was so fucking mad at you, and you still did it. You're 3 weeks. What am I? 2 years, 1 year past my back. 2 years past and I'm still struggling to walk and still struggling. This prick's jumping over 6 weeks after his surgery, back to doing everything. And it's just frustrating. But
but then again, that's the first time I've been pain free.
No, correct.
In 7 years.
Right.
Amazing.
I'm getting there. And like I said, I'm going to have probably one more surgery to fuse my SI joints together. And that's something that, whatever. I don't want to continue to go down that road. So, I mean, one of the things I want to talk about, Rob, and I'm gonna play something real fast.
Because when I did that shit, it was me throwing a fit at life, going,
right,
fuck you.
Right.
Like, I can't have nothing right. My dad didn't teach me how to be a good man. Like, I'm blaming everybody on the planet for, whatever.
Us.
Yeah, for whatever it is. And, and just throwing a ball-eyed fit. If my life can't be easy, then fuck you. I'm going to shoot everybody and fight everybody. And
so that was Jason, right? And he's talking about blaming everybody. That's why when I wanted to ask you about that cancer, and I wanted to kind of go down this road, and I'm going to get into a little bit of why this is coming up. I think when everybody listens to this episode, they've already listened to the Mary episode. We've had Jason that's dealt with adversity in his sobriety. We had Mary and Matt who dealt with adversity in their sobriety. You and I deal with adversity in our sobriety. I mean, I've been dealing it since the very beginning.
Right.
You got interrupted in your sobriety, which,
correct.
I mean, that I don't know what's different, right? I don't know any different, right? This is my sobriety, is dealing with this pain. And it may be God saying, I ain't done teaching you shit. I'm going to keep you right here in this pain and keep you right here until you learn to sit and relax. And God, we just don't know, but that's where I'm at. Your sobriety got interrupted, right?
Which it will. I mean, if you stay sober, clean long enough and live long enough. I mean, do you want to know the secret to getting 30, 40, 50 years of sobriety?
Tell me.
Don't drink and use and don't fucking die.
What a fucking glorious thought process.
You want to be happy, joyous, and free in that time? That's a different story. You want to be,
Did you think of that one all by yourself?
No, there's nothing to do, buddy.
Hey, step 7, right, in the 12 by 12. I wanted to read this. Indeed, the attainment of greater humility is the foundation principle of each of AA's 12 steps. For without some degree of humility, no alcoholic can stay sober at all. Nearly all AAs have found, too, that unless they develop much more of this precious quality than may be required just for sobriety, they still have much chance of becoming truly happy. Without it, they cannot live to much useful purpose or at adversity be able to summon the faith that can meet any emergency. So with that, it's telling us that we're going to go through this adversity. Mm-hmm. If we do not learn to deal with it and get deeply into our spiritual walk, it's going to interrupt, right? It will interrupt everything that we got going.
And we heard Jason talk about, adversity, but also accountability. He was accountability goes right into that, and acceptance goes right into that.
Right. And the humility that we have to have, right? Look at what I've had. Look, when you got diagnosed with cancer, you were humbled quickly.
Because I felt, by that time, I'd been back in the gym. I'd been on the wrestling mat with my son. So I was in shape. I was 47 years old, and man, I showed you pictures. I was in shape. I was great, and I felt fantastic. Yeah. Besides the hip,
right?
But whatever. That's a little.
But you were working past that.
Oh yeah,
you're working through it. Yeah, it's the same thing with me. I can go. 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and I'll get out in the yard and I'll start doing something, and I'll start doing this, and here comes my beautiful little wife, says, "You're gonna regret that." And sure as shit, right, the next day I'm down for 3 or 4 months or 3 or 4 days, and just humbles me, right, to make me go,
makes you right sized,
right. And that's what I was saying earlier about Brad, our friend Brad. That it's just humbling, how it just takes you and just goes, no, you're not. You need to sit right here, sit and listen.
You don't see it in the moment because
no
one likes that.
Because I'm stupid. I just go.
We're human.
Yeah, that is very
human.
True.
It's the human condition, prideful.
Very true.
And it takes what it takes.
Right.
Say.
Yeah.
But for me, humility is a tricky thing.
Yeah.
We know, there's great definitions, being right sized, not thinking of yourself, not thinking less of yourself, just thinking of yourself less, all that happy horse shit, which is all true. But for me, humility lives in the house that gratitude built.
Yeah.
If I ever come across a man, and I've said this many times, and he gets to start telling me how humble he is, I'm leaving. I don't want, because he's not.
Yeah.
But now I come across a man that starts telling me how grateful he is. I'm going to ask him 2 questions. What are you grateful for?
Right.
And who are you grateful to?
Right.
Because that's what AA has taught me. Or we are not affiliated, but that's what this life and God and these steps and this program has taught me. Because anytime you hear Rob say he's grateful, I'm never grateful for Rob, and I'm never grateful to Rob.
That's funny.
Because I took him off the effing pedestal that he was sat on, put God in his place. And I'm grateful for my wife for sticking with me. I'm grateful for my children, the decisions they're making. I'm grateful to God for the power and the brothers and the men. Because when I got in the rooms, I was an idiot, and I did not know how to be.
That changed somewhere?
No, okay, you're right. I'm still an idiot, but what I didn't have was the tools. And it wasn't like, you remember Jason saying about his dad didn't help.
Right.
I had everything to look at. I just chose not to. I'm going to do it my way.
Right.
But then when I came in and I was humbled by alcohol, by my choices, and said, God, here, open hands, take out what you want, put in what you want. Right. And I watched the men. They taught me how to be a good husband, a better husband. Because that's up to my wife to say whether I'm good or not, but better, a better father, a better employee, a better man. I just watched them, and I would glean from them, and I would try to implement things in my life to make me better. Drinking had nothing to do with it.
No. What's so funny is now is, and I may have said this already, and I tend to repeat myself and get over it. But I don't, Katie, I don't even think about drinking. You say it all the time. I don't think about drinking anymore, and I think about breathing. And it's, even it's just not. I don't, and I worry more. I don't worry at all, honestly. I don't want anything interrupting my serenity, my peace, right? Well, just gonna give me a little bit of, and I get teared up on that only because, and you're going to hear me talk about this tomorrow night because it's a little bit of what I'm going to share, and it's going to go into my next segue here. a little bit. I keep saying segue, but I think it said, I don't know. But see, this is
That's what it is, buddy. But I got one too I want to start, because we never did talk about one, but one elephant in the flipping room with what you're going through. Go ahead.
So, I mean, when I was struggling so deep, I was in a pit of hell and a darkness. You know, there's a song, and I words impress me sometimes and how they're put together. And when I heard a word, it took a moment of something to reverse the darkness. And I've said that multiple times, and I think for me, if I took that dimmer switch right there and I took it down, you know, one loom every day for a period of time, took it down one loom over, 8 or 10 years period of time, you don't realize that you're sitting in darkness. You know, you don't.
That's
And,
really
and
good
what
analogy,
what for me, the day that Pat didn't answer my phone call, that moment, right? It took that moment to reverse a little bit of darkness in my life. And I don't talk about that part of this for this reason that much, because I was in, everybody saw the drinking, right? Everybody saw the drinking, and the drinking was, we say it all the time. The drinking was not the problem, right? It wasn't my
it was
problem.
our attempted solution, but it stopped working.
And when I tell people, you need just a little bit of something to reverse the darkness, that's what I'm talking about. It took just that moment of darkness, that moment to reverse the darkness that came out. I don't know if you wanted to say something, but I wanted to talk to you about, you said this multiple times, and I wanted to stop you and to ask you about it, to explain a little bit more. But
most people that I have found, humans, us in particular, we move at the speed of pain. When the pain we're in becomes greater than our fear of change, we change.
So you've said that a couple times, and I want you to elaborate a little bit more on that. Do you want me to put that particular one into context? I could tell you what we were talking about in that particular. We were talking about people coming to God, and I said most people come to God broken, and that's where you started talking about that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, most people come to crossroads,
right?
It takes, it's a human condition,
right?
For some reason, alcoholics, addicts in particular, us, it takes, some people take a nudge. I know a woman, she's got 16 years sober. She spilt a glass of wine by the poolside and whoop, I'm done. That was her.
Seriously.
So that broke a glass.
That moment.
But
moment to reverse the darkness.
But if you hear her story, you're thinking from some of the stuff we've done and we've heard, just because we're like, holy, that for you, but everybody's different. That was her moment. That, she had enough. But humans in general, us, alcoholics, addicts in particular, and you and I specifically, we move at the speed of pain. Everybody does. We won't, because what is everybody's fear? Everybody fears change.
Right.
What is the one constant? Change. And I say, you and I talked yesterday about the one thing that fucking drives me the nuts is when people talk about, they blame God. They don't know they're doing it, but it sounds like they're doing it. Right. But when I was in a hospital bed with my liver the size of this book, the doctor telling me, Mr. Thomas, your liver, and I make a joke. My wife's here crying.
Right.
I say, well, I know it's working hard, doc. It's working hard. And I'm making jokes, knowing in my mind what I'm thinking in that moment. I can tell you exactly what I'm thinking. I can't do this. But I was too gutless, too afraid to ask for help. I was going to take it to the bitter end like a fucking coward.
Right.
That was my plan. I'm just going to have to carry this because, I didn't think of a solution. And I didn't have the guts to ask for help. That's it. I was a coward.
Right.
Point blank.
Right.
But for some reason, a year later, my sisters, then that happened. I come in out of the garage for whatever reason to hit my ass. Alcohol, my body stopped processing liquor at that point, and I was done. And the only way I can say it is God's hand was just, David talks about this in Psalms. God's hand was just heavy on me. Not crushing, but just a little weight. And whether it is or not, this is just how I see it.
Right.
And I had had enough. So then I humbled myself, and my sister comes up and I'm an alcoholic. I need help. I'm willing to go to any length to do whatever it takes to not feel like this.
Right.
And that takes pain.
Yeah. So, and that makes perfect sense. I mean, you and I have spoken about that a couple times, and I knew what you meant by it. And, this will be our 6th episode now. And so I've gotten a lot of feedback from emails from listeners and this and that. And I've had a few people ask questions, and that's one of the questions is, can you get him to explain what he meant by that? Most
and anybody listening, alcoholic or otherwise, can sympathize with that. They know what yeah. Nobody comes to Alcoholics Anonymous on a winning streak. Nobody comes to God holding 4 aces.
Right.
They're in pain. They reach out. Right. But a lot of problem we make is what I've seen, because you and I get frustrated with people on that side. But what do they try to do? They try to clean themselves up. Let me clean myself up before I come to the Lord. Let me clean get to him dirty.
Right.
Let him do the cleaning. You just get to him.
Right.
He'll do, because you'll clean out, like we said, like when we go through the steps, the character defects. I thought, there's 5 characters. He's going to take these away from me. Nope, I still have those, but they're not defects anymore. He turned those into assets.
Right.
And then I had these 3 things that I thought, man, I'm going to get to keep these because this is my best qualities. But no, he ripped those out by the root, and I never seen them again. You don't know that you don't know.
Right. That's homage to our Johnny O.
Yeah, but just give it to him and let him clean you up. Let him take out what he wants, and that's surrender. Something we struggle with a little bit because
it's not the surrender. I'll surrender all day long, but I'm going to hide some shit in my boot.
So are you surrendered?
No, right.
Again, how many times we say the only time I ever let go of anything was to get a better grip on it.
Right. So this is one of the other ones that I get asked about. I've been asked this one a little bit.
The steps for me, and I've said this to you, are the shit sandwich analogy.
Right.
Not me, not you, not our wives. Nobody listening to this podcast has eaten a shit sandwich they didn't have a hand in making. The steps point out, crap, I keep slicing the bread.
Right.
I keep spreading that.
Right.
If you don't, and you only maybe you made 90% of that sandwich, maybe you made 10%. If you didn't make any, you won't eat any.
That's the one you got mad at me. So we're going to end on a shit sandwich. I see you finish it.
And now, and I say that to men as you're working with me, because they're trying to, what's the point of working these steps, Rob? What am I going to get out of it?
Right.
And Pat's talked about it, and I've talked about it. We kind of, because if you look at my resentment list, you could, whatever the names are on this.
Can I see it?
Oh, I burned that son of a bitch years ago. That's fire. That thing's ashes to dust. But that's what it is.
Right.
You could have replaced any one of those names. It didn't matter. I brought the same Rob Thomas to the fucking table all the time. Selfish, self-centered, because pride, you remember pride and ego is fear. Yep. Fear equals pride and ego. I brought the same guy, regardless of who I was dealing with. So, but I didn't, until you get it on paper. And then once I got it on paper and I put it in front of another man, it became a totally different document. And that's what it is. I realized, holy crap, I keep slicing the bread for this sandwich. If I would stop doing that, but I needed the steps to reveal that and God's power to restore that. I couldn't do it.
What happened the first time you went back to work and you accepted in front of somebody else something that you did? Did they recognize that right away? Did they what the fuck what?
Everything changed. I mean, and you don't realize it because once you start doing this process, I just had my head down and just doing the next just doing the deal, listen to it. And again, I could have, like I said with Mary and Matt, I could have turned my will and my life over to the care of my dog at that time and got better results than what the hell I was doing. So at the first, I knew there was a God, and I believed in him all my life, but the problem I had with him was, he's not going to help me now. I've turned my back on him. So what I would do for my sponsor, I would, whatever Jay said, go left, go right. I listened to him for a while. Then, my trust became, as I started doing the step work, my reliance became on a higher power. God.
Right. And we stopped relying on ourselves 100%. We had to.
You have to. Because again, now I'm in all these years sober. The minute I tell God, you know what, Lord, this ain't that big a deal. I know you got other things to deal with. I've got this.
Right.
I step in shit and slicing bread again and more humble pie, which tastes like, but what I've learned, if I'm going to eat crow, I'm going to eat it hot, baby. I'm going to eat it hot.
I learned that shortly after, probably maybe a month, sober month, I went to Home Depot. And if you ever want to meet the world's, I'm going to be very careful how I say this. In fact, I'm going to just pass that by and leave that alone. I was in Home Depot and I was checking out, and I had the nicest person that God could have put in front of me at that moment, because he was about ready to teach me something. And you just like how I cleaned that up,
buddy. I'm impressed. Tap dancing. I'm impressed, actually,
because she pissed me off, and I literally bit her head. Right, because I was in a hurry, had to get home, got projects to do.
My time's more valuable than yours, don't you know?
I've only been sober, and you're lucky I don't bite your head off. And I bit hard. And as soon as those words fell out of my mouth, before they probably even processed in her mind,
did your conscience get you?
Immediately.
Doesn't that suck?
No.
No, I mean, I say that tongue in cheek because we grew a conscience in this process. The little things that we would fluff over.
Oh, I'd have walked out. I could have ruined. That's the Holy Spirit. Would have ruined her day,
twisting you,
and not giving a shit about it. Because I felt better because I told you were an idiot, right? And man, immediately when those words fell out of my mouth, I said, "Ma'am, you did not deserve an ounce of that. I apologize." And she, "Oh, thank you so much, thank you." And I walked out.
Because they probably get that every third customer.
Oh, I'm sure this one did. I'm sure. But she didn't deserve it. She did not deserve it. The way I said it, she didn't deserve it. It was unnecessary. And I remember coming into Monday night group was going. I remember coming in and telling you guys that. And all you guys going, "Wow, no, what'd you say? It took that long? It took that long or something like that for you to have to do that?" And it was the first time. I'd only been back to work probably about 2 or 3 weeks, so I hadn't had a chance to bite anybody's head off there yet.
See, now I never did. I didn't bite people's head off anyway.
Oh, I was horrible.
I was more of a, kill them with kindness. I was a fake motherfucker. I think. I shouldn't say it.
No.
Watch the cussing. I'm working on it.
Right.
Working on it.
No,
I was fake, and I would hold it in. But at times, I mean, I do my steps at night, and there was times as I did the steps, what would get me was, because the way I see him, the way I conduct my life now, do no harm, without being a doormat. And you think there's a great divide there, but there's not. There's a fine line there. You bite your tongue and swallow the blood, or don't get walked upon. And I would balance that, and sometimes I'd go one way or the other. I should be biting and swallowing the blood, but I'm snapping back because I'm not going to be a doormat.
Right.
And I'd wake up, and I did this twice. Woke up in the middle of the night about 10 o'clock as I'm doing, and I actually didn't even get to sleep because I was doing my step, inventory. Holy shit. That was rude, because it talks about that. So I'd called up a guy, "Hey, at lunchtime," and they didn't know what the hell I was talking about. "No, Rob, I'm glad I'm sorry that bothered you. I'm in bed, but I'll see you in the morning."
Thanks for waking me up, you prick.
But I was not going to go to sleep.
Right.
Until I did that.
And that's the way you dealt with it.
That's when I started crow hot.
Yeah.
I step on someone's toes, get it out right there, because when I hit like we talked about, my head hits the pillow, I'm out because I'm clean.
Most of my amends that I had to do were for words that I had said.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Most of my, and here's the thing about it, really wasn't actions, because I never, like I said, I wasn't the drinker that would get drunk and forget what he was doing. I was pretty highly functional, right?
Ask you a question.
Hit me.
Hey, we're going to bring it.
Hit me.
We're spitballing. Do you believe this? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
No.
That's what we were taught.
No.
Is that accurate?
No. I could fuck you up with some words.
Well, I had a talk. This is how the gentleman I was asking said, because we were brought up that way, hold it in, men don't cry kind of bullshit, and sticks and stones.
Yeah.
I would rather my dad have beat me with
a
rod than to ever look at me and say, "Son, you're disappointing."
Right.
That would break my spirit. So
destroy me.
Yeah. So the words I've told people bothered me far more than anything I ever did, stole, wrecked.
Yeah. No, the people that, the words to some of the people, and I still have one that I haven't been able to make an amends to, and I've had to let it go. I don't, I've talked to her. I've asked her to have lunch, and she keeps telling me, you don't owe me anything.
And you're clean.
I do, but I don't, yeah, I've let it go. I'm over it. Yeah. I mean, I'm whatever. I mean, she was one of my biggest mentors, in my industry. Yeah, I've talked to you about it. It's bad. It was a friendship and that I ruined, and because of something, but you know what? I don't know if I ruined it, but it's not the same, but it is what it is.
All we have to do, we make the attempt.
I let it go. I gave it over. I have no problem giving that kind of stuff over.
I've gotten all the above.
Right.
Rob, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm
right.
just glad you're doing better.
Right.
Yeah, that did hurt. And
do you think that was being passive though?
What?
I don't that what you just said.
They might have. I don't know. That's not, I can't, again, I'm not in control of the outcome. I'm just there to try to clean up myself. And then I've had, I hope you eat shit and die. I don't want to see you again. I can tell, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm not going to go do that, but I made my attempt. So, I've heard the gamut. I'm
such an overthinker though, that whenever
we all are.
I'm bad, that when people would say that to me, I'd be like, wait a minute, what do you mean? How do you not remember that I hurt you? How do you not remember that?
Don't you know who I am?
Don't you know? What do you mean you don't remember that? Yeah.
Oh, right. It's right here. I must keep my magic magnifying mind on my acceptance and off my expectations, for my serenity is directly proportional to my level of acceptance. Our magic magnifying, not that everybody else doesn't have it, but we in particular, kind of people that are wired this way, mountain, molehill,
right,
constantly. That's us. Because don't you know who we are?
Right. I got one more. What is the unfiltered part?
Truth.
Right.
In all its forms, warts and all. We're human.
Right.
I mean, sometimes cursing is a character defect of mine. Right. God is not removing as fast as maybe I would like, but it's real.
Right. I asked you that. That was on the very first episode when we were discussing the Recovery Unfiltered, and I asked you that. That's really not the answer I was expecting, but when you said it, it took me back. You sat me for a second. I'm like, okay, because it is what we are, right?
How many times do you hear it? Really.
I read it. To thy own self be true, right on my arm.
Unfiltered. They're going to think, there's going to be a lot of cussing, which I'm working on it, or God's working on it.
It's part of what unfiltered means. Yeah.
But really not.
No.
Raw. Yeah. Right. The truth is what it is. The truth in all its forms, the truth at its their essence.
Right.
Don't shine it up. Because if you do that, you're taken away from what it is.
Right. And
speak the truth. Speak the truth in love. But that when the Bible says speak the truth in love, it's not saying what it was when Jesus spoke the truth in love. Man, he was pretty brood of vipers. Come on.
Yep.
Because love is painful sometimes.
Right.
The truth is painful.
And here, so yes, right. Can be. But how you accept the truth, how you soak that truth in, is how what we learn it's what we learn as alcoholics. It's what I learned.
It's what we put on paper. It's that shit. That's shit sandwich.
Right.
That's the truth. And you got to look at, okay, this is me, not who I thought I was, not the mask I was wearing. This right now and another great gift about the truth. Good sponsorship. Becky, that's not a real name. She's got 3 years sober now. She came in when I came in. Got a sponsor, working the steps, and she told me this story. She lives in the Bay Area now. Great gal, remind you of Mary. But she was going through her step work, and she said the same thing to her sponsor that I said to mine, Jay. She was going through this. She says, man, I'm terrible. I'm a horrible person. And her sponsor said this, no, baby, you're not. You're a good person. Alcohol made you do this. 3 months later, she's drunk again, went on another 5-year run. Came back in, and then redid it, got a different sponsor.
Right.
When I looked at mine, and again, I wasn't the devil and I wasn't an angel. I was just like the rest of us.
Human. We walk the world.
And I said the same thing to Jay. I said, man, if good people do good things, bad people do bad things, do that.
Right.
And I said, I'm a terrible father. I'm a terrible husband. I'm just a terrible man. He didn't say yes. He didn't say no. He said, my dad never called me son either. He called me Joe.
All right.
Hey, Joe. But Jay calls me son. He said, son, I got good news if that's what you believe. I looked up and I needed some of that. He goes, you don't have to stay that way.
Right.
And that's what I tell the guys. Eric,
Right.
little Eric said the same thing to me. We went out there in the park by the pond doing his, and he goes, Rob, I'm a piece of shit.
I remember when you guys did that.
And he's crying in tears. And I said, well, you don't have to stay that way. And it's not, but don't, as a sponsor, as someone comes, that they have that moment of clarity and that's how they evaluate, that's how they evaluate themselves. Right. Don't take it from them.
You ever find yourself, though, people taking advantage of you, of your kindness and your, I don't call it weakness at all, but people will know that I will point out when I mess up, right? That's my fault. I'm sorry about that. I did that. Do you catch people taking advantage of that?
I don't see it as taking advantage. My wife says so. My coworkers, a lot of the guys that I sponsor, hey, like you've told me so, Rob. You're helping too many people. You don't say no.
Right.
Right. They're taking advantage of you. Not if I don't think so.
Right.
If I'm doing it for the right motives, they're not taking advantage.
But that's not what that's not.
What do you mean?
What I mean, do you feel like people, and I know you don't,
kindness?
Right.
Yes.
I know you don't because do you think other people, you look at what we do, like I'm going to, just for instance, I mean, I'm the first one to say, hey, incident happened last night at work. I said, hey, this was on me. I did that fault. That's on me. But yet people, when they make mistakes, they absolutely don't, right?
Yes. Okay, now I know what you're talking about. Absolutely.
Yeah. And they tend to look for us as that doormat, is that Larry will eat this if we just show him where he screwed up. Right, because they think we're just doormats.
And some say, and there's the swallow the blood.
Right, bite the tongue, swallow the blood.
Doormat thing.
Right.
I would just to be done with it.
Right.
I would eat it.
Right. We do.
And I stopped doing that because that's not honest. That's not truth.
No, it's
so stop doing it. Right. And you're not helping anybody.
Nope.
Stand.
I will to a point. If it's me,
again,
I'll eat it.
Not that I was a pushover, because my problem is like Jason. We grew up fighting. I loved it. So I would just do this, but you can't do that. We're grown up.
Right. And I find myself now sitting in meetings, and it just literally happened. And after the meetings, people's like, man, you're super quiet. I'm like, I didn't have anything to say. And you guys make fun of that, but I know the situation and I know the room. I know if I speak up and start talking, there's attacks coming, and I don't want to be a part of that. So I just take myself out of it. Right. Would I have done that 3 years ago? Fuck no.
No, you'd have fought to the
I'd have walked into that fucking meeting with my gloves on and taped up. I'd been ready to go. Let's go. But no, you know what? And I walk out of that meeting in peace, and I'm okay.
And that's, I mean, this is everybody. How many times have you getting ready to go to a meeting or have an argument, and you're driving for the next 2 hours? I'm going to say this, and they're going to say that. And all the mental gymnastics we have, the peace. I don't have to do that anymore. No, and I don't do that anymore.
I catch myself doing it, and I'm like, what are you doing?
I can't wait till she says that, then I'm going to say this, then she's going to come back with that. For 3 hours, and you don't even realize, jeez, shut up. That's the beautiful thing about God.
Rob, you said something a minute ago before we close out. You said the large elephant in the room, and then we kind of moved over it. What was the large elephant in the room?
Well, we were talking about hips and back and cancer. We never talked about how do you deal with medications in sobriety. We got loaded up.
I think we need to leave that for a topic. I think that's a great topic
to come about because
I think there's a lot of people. There's a lot.
There's a lot of opinions that But mine's right.
Of course, yours is right because you're Rob Thomas. You're the lead singer for Matchbox 20. I mean, how would you not be right?
Exactly. I'm just a little unwell. That's all. Not crazy.
Yeah. So we're anything else you want to say before we close this thing out?
We hardly got into anything. We just went off the cuff on that one.
We did. I had honestly, you could pretty much say that's when I had some notes. Yeah,
I want to apologize. I'm really going to work on my swearing. I'll make a conscious effort. I don't know.
Why are you shaking your head? No, Rob.
I don't know. I didn't even know I was doing that till you said that. Okay, I'm going to make a conscious effort.
You know what? Fuck it. It's who I am. Yeah. I can't. I try.
I get bad. At church, I don't cuss near as much. The pastor don't mind.
I don't cuss in front of when I'm in meetings, and
I temper it.
Temperate's probably a good word. I can appreciate that word. But hey, I appreciate you guys listening. You know, we're really starting to grow in this thing. Our listeners have been amazing. We're in
Portugal finally opened their ears.
Portugal.
Thank you, my family.
Your motherland.
Actually,
your
we're Azores,
motherland.
but Portugal's good too.
So we're in Portugal, Germany, Australia.
Are there any alcoholics in Germany?
No, they don't drink beer and alcohol, and they don't drink any alcohol in Germany.
I didn't think so.
They outlawed it. All right, thanks. This has been Larry.
This is Rob.
If you ever want to reach out to us, got questions, be in touch with us. You can reach us at Recovery Unfiltered, Rob and Larry.
And if there's a subject you would like touched upon.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
That's what we would like to hear.
Right. I mean, we may not have the answer.
And it don't have to do anything to do with recovery.
No.
I'm a smart son of a bitch. Just ask Larry.
You got the last part right. I don't even know your mom. Sorry, Tammy. All right. Anyways, that's Recovery Unfiltered, Rob and Larry at gmail.com. That's Recovery Unfiltered, Rob.
N, Larry, not and. It's just the letter N. Why he did that shit, I will never know.
At gmail.com. Thank you for joining us today.
We hope you learned something today that will help you.
If you did not, come back next week and we'll try again.
If you like what we heard, give us a 5-star review. If you don't like what you heard, kiss my... You can't say that, can you? Anyway, if you don't like what you heard, go ahead and tell us that too. We'll see what we can improve. We probably won't change nothing, but do it anyway.
Hey, thanks, Rob. Come back next week and hopefully something will be different and something will sink in. Take care.
This has been Recovery Unfiltered.